Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, folks? I am Goat. Welcome to the breakdown. Week 14. Another week. Man, this whole fucking season is crazy, okay? This entire goddamn season is crazy. So, let's just dig right into this, all right? So, first game, Steelers at Vikings. Sorry if you guys hear any noise. Steelers at Vikings. So, Steelers 28, Vikings 36. Steelers were the tale of two halves, as they have been in many a game this season, okay? They really have been. I'm going to move this just a touch. The first half, they just looked stagnant and slow and completely off their game plan, and in the second half, they rallied and nearly came back with a game-tying drive. Yes, there was some stupid shit there that killed clock, but they could have done better. Okay, I know that they were having to deal with injuries on defense and everything else that were causing problems for them, but it is what it is. They should have honestly been a little bit more efficient at the tail end of this game. It's just the truth. I expected that they would run much more than they did, but this is kind of the way that it's been playing out, and the ending is a result of what I've said time and time again, especially with the way Roethlisberger's looked the last few seasons. If you make him throw more than 35 times in a game, you're most likely going to end up with a loss, and he was 28 of 40, and they only rushed a total of 25 attempts for just over 100 yards. I hate to be right about this, but it's the truth, man. It's the absolute fucking truth. What do you say? Vikings, well, it certainly was not the prettiest win to say the least defensively, but at the same time, good God, would you look at Dalvin Cook go? 27 carries for 205 yards against that Steelers defense? Yeah, that's a way to get a win, even when your fucking QB coughs up the ball twice. You know, so it is what it is. Saints and Jets. Saints 30, Jets 9. Showing of two bad teams at this point. The Saints have the talent on the roster, but just in my opinion, too many injuries to overcome for this season. They won against a really beat up, pitiful Jets team that they should have, so there's that. Falcons at Panthers. Two teams that I just don't see making any sort of a real difference, even if they do make the playoffs or could make the playoffs. This is one of those must-win games for the Falcons, and they did just that. And I say must-win, and we'll get to that, okay? Seahawks at Texans. The Texans are trash, which is why the Seahawks look really good. By the way, the Falcons at Panthers was 29-21. Seahawks at Texans, Seahawks 33, Texans 13. Two teams with literally no hope of making the postseason. The Seahawks only look good because the Texans are just that bad. So, not really much to say on this one, honestly, other than, in my opinion, the right team won, because they've got the better personnel and the better overall coaching staff, better overall organized. So it is what it is. Game of interest, Raiders at Chiefs. Raiders 9, Chiefs 48. Holy fucking balls. The Raiders, I mean, where the fuck to begin? You start this goddamn game by coming out and dancing on the fucking logo. That typically never goes good. But let's just state the obvious here. They look like shit. Offense, defense, they just look like shit. The Chiefs D-line absolutely mauled their offense, and their defense seemingly looked like, a Mormon's pullout game, non-existent. They got their asses whipped, end of story. Now, I will say that in the first half, the Raiders defense did look better than it did in the second half, but it just wasn't really all that great. It just wasn't. I mean, especially in the second half when they stuck in nearly all the second stringers in the fourth quarter, and they still got a fucking, what was it, a 53-yard run from fucking, Gore? They gave up a 53-yard run to Gore, or a 40-yard run or some shit. I mean, that was your second stringers against your starters, and you're just getting the shit beat out of you. Get the fuck out of here. So the Chiefs. Now, this is the expectation that a lot of people have had for this team this season. It now puts them in third place in a very, very contentious AFC at the present moment, and very much directly in contention. The only killer for them is the upcoming short week to play the Chargers, and I think that's going to be very telling as where they sit for the rest of the season, because this is going to be for the divisional lead, first of all. Second of all, the offense is still starting slow. In my opinion, the second half, the offense looked perfectly fine. They look like their old selves. But the first half, man, it's like they were kind of having to drag themselves up to really get going. The defense really put them in that game, very much so. I mean, 35-3 at halftime, and the game ends 48-9, and it's just because they actually did the one thing that I said they should do. And if the run works, stick with it for a little bit, then work off of that. And that's exactly what they did. Next game, Ravens at Browns. Kind of another game of interest because it's divisional, even though the Browns, I think, are a little fucked up right now. But not as fucked up as the Ravens. Ravens 22, Browns 24. Ravens, Lamar Jackson goes out in the second quarter with an ankle injury, and yet again, I barely seem to notice. I know that sounds harsh, and I truly don't mean it to be, but it's kind of... He's been very unsettled with his playstyle lately, and his backup is showing just as much poise as he is, and that's a very big problem for the team. The Ravens have proven that if Lamar Jackson is playing bad, then the team will do so as well. So they've got to get this issue sorted out with him real quick before their season ends just as fast as it's falling apart. Browns, I really didn't know what to expect from this game aside from some pretty bonkers and sloppy gameplay, and that's exactly what we got. This game definitely produced that much for sure, you know? Good for the Browns that they beat a divisional rival and they're keeping themselves in the hunt. But I still see entirely too many issues with this squad at this point in the season to take them seriously as a contender. But I mean, again, we'll see. It's late in the season. We'll see how this goes. Cowboys at Washington. I'm going to tell you right now, truth be told, I think that the Cowboys could have potentially lost this game if it wouldn't have been for that blasting ass destructive hit on Taylor Heineke. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that the Cowboys may have come out in overtime with this one, but I think this would have been a much more contentious game. I mean, Heineke did not have the best of games, but he was keeping them in it. And I mean, they're a feisty bunch of sons of bitches. So I mean, we'll see what goes on moving forward. But Cowboys 27, Washington football team 20. So the Cowboys, let me get this straight. You go in on a full half bender of kicking the shit out of your divisional opponent. You go a full half on a bender of kicking the shit out of your opponent, and then nearly let them come back to win, to tie the game. It's like, come on. Coach McCarthy called out and said, we're going to win this one, which he did, which is ballsy for a coach, by the way. And they duck out and barely eke out against a win against a football team by nearly knocking out the quarterback. I mean, good job done defensively in the end, stepping up to cut off the rally, but still, I mean, I get more and more worried as this season progresses for the Cowboys because early they look good. Dak gets hurt, then they don't look near as poised as they did. So, Washington, they came in on a 4-game winning streak, and I was expecting a pretty feisty team, and the first half, not so much for sure, but they definitely came on very strong and got up to the end. And honestly, if it wasn't for the offensive line kind of crumbling and allowing that nasty hit on Heineke, I think they had a real shot at this one. And these are the kinds of games that if you want to, that you've got to go in and win and prove that they're for real, and they almost did with this one. Personally, I look at Washington like next year, if they can cinch up their problems, they're going to be a lot better. So it is what it is. So next game, Jags at Titans. Jags 0, Titans 20. The Titans beat the Jags next. I mean, what else do you say? Come on. The Jags are trash. The fucking Titans are decent even without Derrick Henry. So they absolutely should have won this game. Lions at Broncos. I'm just going to simply say this, okay? With such an emotional game on the line and helping that drive by having a piss poor opponent come into their stadium. Yeah, Denver needed this win in a big way by losing Demaryius Thomas. And no, he was not an active player, but Demaryius Thomas was on the last Super Bowl team for the Broncos. He was a very good person, and I mean, he passed away at 33, I think. So, I mean, that's just terrible. It's terrible. He was a good dude, man. I've seen multiple interviews with the guy. He seemed like such a just a good dude. So, very sad. So the next game, Giants at Chargers. Another game of interest for me due to the playoff implications for the Chargers. Giants 21, Chargers 37. So again, I have to go back to the never quit mentality that Joe Judge just seems to drill into this team's mindset going into every game. Yes, they lost. Yes, they lost pretty badly. But they didn't stop. They just kept pushing and pushing. And if they can just fix a few of their key issues with this team, New York fans might actually have something to root for again coming soon. Who knows? So Chargers, hey, look, the Chargers smoked the Giants. Where's that all-star defense that everybody keeps talking about? Because I think they forgot their meds this week. I'm not saying that the Giants are a piss-poor team. I'm saying that they have piss-poor follow-through with, closing out scoring drives. So when you allow 21 points from a team that's got a bit of an issue with finishing drives, kind of questioning that one a bit. Offensively, they look great. 49ers at Bengals, another playoff implication game of interest. 49ers 26, Bengals 23. So 49ers, I keep saying that the squad is getting better and better, and again, this is proof. I'm still not a firm believer in this defense, but it's also hard to deny the results of what they're showing. It's causing a lot of confusion. It's causing confusion and slowing down slowing down such a high-flying offense as the Bengals is no easy task, and they were definitely up for it. Can they keep this going? That's the big question that I think is sitting on everybody's mind with the 49ers, because if they can be very dangerous in the postseason. Bengals, well, if it weren't for bad play, they just wouldn't have been in the stadium for this one. It's like they had good drive, bad drive, good drive, bad drive. It's like going through the ghetto, good block, bad block. That's what this game was for the Bengals. It was good block, bad block, the whole fucking game. They've played some really good teams and had some really good games, and then they've lost some shit games to some really shitty teams, and it just makes you scratch your fucking head. Did they really just lose to this team? This is one of those games to me that I thought Cincy really had it in them to beat the Niners. Instead, they beat themselves. That's it. So the Bills at the Buccaneers. Or the Buccaneers. Wow, the Buccaneers. Jesus Christ, I can't just say 49ers, whatever. Yeah, man. Put the score backwards because I already know who won that one. Because I'm stupid. Yeah. Bills 27, Bucks 33. Game of interest. Bills, just wow. Their game plan coming in was shit, and the adjustments that they made at halftime were nearly perfect. So they go on to overtime just to lose a gut buster, to say the least, on bad defensive coverage in the end. That's what it was. It was piss poor defensive coverage. I just don't have words for this team. There's so much talent, and it's seemingly wasted at times with just such erratic play. I don't know what to say about the Bills. They're a very good team. But when they go against really good teams that are playing at their best, they look like ass. The Bucks. The way the second half looked, I honestly thought that they were going to lose in overtime. And if it weren't for some very interesting calls and some shitty missed tackles from the Bills D, I think they could have lost this one. Good for them for squeezing it out in overtime, but honestly, the first half of this game looked really good for them. The second half of the game was kind of meh. And then they get into overtime, and I really kind of questioned if they were going to come out with a win or not. So, personally, I think the right team won. So it is what it is. I think the Bills are just entirely too erratic to where the Bucs seemed a lot more composed and cinched up. But I think they could have easily let this game get away from them if they weren't careful. So the Bears at the Packers. I'm not surprised with this as far as the overall result, but I am surprised at how the first half went. So the Bears, I really thought that they were going to take this one. They flat out came into the first half of this game and put the Packers in a hurt locker. And then the second half hit, and the Packers just didn't look back. If you want to get pissed about Aaron Rodgers saying that he owns your team, then actually step up and play the whole fucking game and beat his ass. I think that there were some damn questionable calls, but this season, what game doesn't have them, truthfully? And the calls, from the refs, not the team. It seems like every game the refs are just fucked up, especially this season. So the Packers, look, the Packers looked okay in the first half, but I'll be damned if they didn't wake the fuck up for the second half. That's for damn sure. The only thing that to be troubled with the Packers is that they haven't really been at their best coming back from a deficit. So if the defense starts really slow like they did in this game, in a playoff game like this, they could be in some real trouble yet again in the postseason without question. Because, the Packers are one of those teams, they're definitely built to to run with a lead, but they're not really amazing at coming back from a deficit because they're kind of a either big play or trickle team as far as how they move down the field. They either blow your fucking doors off with one or two fucking big passes or big runs, or they grind the fucking ball down the field, and the grinding down the field, the little dink and dunk shit is what they like to do unless Adams can break open. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know if the defense plays like they did in this one, especially against somebody like the Bears. If they go into the postseason and they start off that slow, they're going to get their doors blown off, and I don't know if they can come back from it. We'll see. And that's a team I like, by the way. Rams at Cardinals, big game of interest. First and second place in the NFC West. And two of the better top 5 teams in the fucking playoffs right now, personally. So the Rams, well, they certainly showed the hell up defensively for sure. Rams, last score, Bears 30, Packers 45. So obviously Packers won. Sorry about that. Rams at Cardinals, Rams 30, Cardinals 23. Picture that one. Big change up in the fucking leadership too, or in these standings that we'll cover in just a moment. So the Rams, they certainly shut up defensively in this game for sure. The offense seemed a bit hit or miss, but much better than a lot of the recent outings that we've seen without question. If this is the type of game that they can carry into the postseason, I think that they could make this a very interesting postseason for sure for the NFC. But we've got to see consistency from this team, and that's the one thing this team has not been as consistent. They've been up, down, up, down, up, down. Like November, they were consistently bad. I think they were 1-3 in November. So the Cardinals, man, you're down 10 points with 5.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you don't go for a field goal with one of the better long-distance kickers on your team. What the fuck was that about? Secondly, the game ended pretty much how it started, with Kyler Murray literally running for his life and being harassed constantly by the Rams' defensive line. I mean, they came into this game with just a mean fury set against the Cardinals offense, and the Cardinals just didn't seem to have an answer for what the fuck was happening for the majority of the game. I mean, they got to get this right quickly, because that offense cannot be breaking, that line cannot be breaking down like that and just allowing Murray to just be bombarded left and right. I mean, they've got to keep their run game established so they can open up for more play action, because that's where their strength is. I mean, the first time they played the Rams this season, they beat them by running like 200 plus yards down their fucking throats. So it is what it is. So let's go to the standings. So in the AFC, Patriots are leading 9-4, with the Titans 9-4. Number 3, Chiefs 9-4. Ravens are now 8-5 in fourth place. Chargers sit solidly in fifth at 8-5, and I say solidly jokingly because nothing is solid in the AFC. But Chargers are sitting 8-5. And the Chargers do hold the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So if the Chargers win on Thursday night, then the Chargers are going to take the 3 spot, and the Chiefs will take the 5 or 6 spot, depending on how the weekend goes. So yeah, I mean, this Thursday game for the Chiefs and the Chargers, both big fucking game. The Colts are now sitting in the 6th seed, was 7-6, and the Bills have dropped all the way to the 7th seed at 7-6. The Browns, Steelers, Bengals, and Broncos are all your teams on the bubble, all sitting at 7-6, or with the Steelers 6-1. So the NFC, here's the shakeup, man. I mean, the fucking shakeup. At least with the top 3 spots. Packers now solidly, in first place at 10-3, with the Buccaneers also at 10-3 and number 2. Cardinals have dropped from 1 to 3 at 10-3. Cowboys sit very firmly at 9-4 at the top of the NFC East, which, whatever. The Rams are now at 9-4 at the 5 spot. 49ers in the 6th spot at 7-6, and then Washington football team is barely squeezing in there at 6-7. Boy. This is an interesting season, guys. Very interesting. So we'll see you next week, and we'll just see how this looks, all right? So catch you then.